please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamite, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Yes. Sorry for the delay. We do apologize. We had some technical difficulties over here, so we do apologize for everything. But good morning. It is Wednesday, April 30th, you guys, and today is Stop National Food Waste Day today, you guys.
Yeah, clean your plate, buddy. I've never actually seen you not clean your plate. You actually do it. You do a good job. If you were at Captain D's, you get the Clean Plate Club award.
Yeah, clean plates. Shout out to clean plates. You know what I mean? I'm with that. Shout out to dishwashers. It's also National Bubble Tea Day, not to be confused with boba tea, you guys.
I don't like either of them. They're weird. They confuse me. I'm confused already.
Wait, what is the difference between the two?
One has bubbles and one has boba.
I've always heard boba. I've always heard them used interchangeably, so I guess I've been wrong about that. And I hope to open a boba shop in college too.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not a big fan of tapioca in my tea.
Where do you like your tapioca at?
Hey. Morning show.
What do you like in your tea?
It's also National PrepareAthon Day today, you guys. It's always good to be prepared, right?
The irony.
Irony. Yeah, I know. It's also National Military Brats Day today.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. Shaun has some military brats herself, right, Shaun?
I have some brats.
And then it's also National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day today.
Aw.
It's always a good day.
Yeah.
Somebody please come adopt Jason Beck.
Funny.
Rescue.
Jason's at a field shelter right now, so we need to hurry up. His time is ticking.
Well, we're getting
a good
there,
pet if he didn't talk so much.
It's also National Sarcoidodis Day.
Sarcoidosis. So sarcoidosis is a disease that causes blindness and a lot of other things, and is heavily found in like the African American population.
Got it. Well, it's that national day. You know what I'm saying? It's also National Raisin Day.
Oh, good. Don't put them in the potato salad.
No, I don't understand why people do that. I'm with you, Jenny.
But in a cranberry turkey salad, maybe.
You know, I like them in like regular salad. They're good.
Yeah.
You know. But also they're good in this because it's also National Oatmeal Cookie Day.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, raisins are good in that.
That's the best use of a raisin, I think.
Interesting how those two share a date.
This day is definitely for Todd because it's National HairStylist Appreciation Day.
Oh.
Really take good care of my hairstyle.
It's also what's that?
We want to send some love to Soma, who's recovering after some complications in the hospital. So we want to definitely.
Oh yes, much love to Soma and everyone out there in Europe. It's also, you're gonna love this, Sohum, especially you. It's National Bugs Bunny Day.
Why would I like that?
You don't like Bugs Bunny, Sohum?
I mean, I do, but I'm curious why specifically me.
I was just, you know what I'm saying? Just wanted to make sure you knew you were included, bro. That's all. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
He read it on X, so it has to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a big Space Jam fan, so I'll take it.
All right, fair enough. See, I knew what I was talking about right there. And it's also National Honesty Day today, you guys. So don't be telling lies.
Ooh.
I gotta be honest. I think it's too many days today.
I agree with you, Todd, but I don't control that. I have no control over that. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. But we're going to kick this off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3. And because we are running behind today, she's going to get a little baby intro, but none other. It is Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
All right. Jason.
Yes.
You're wrong, Jason, because Missouri does not have it together. They are still recalling products like gangbusters over there. Because the Missouri Division of Cannabis Regulation issued a marijuana product recall on Tuesday involving products sold by manufacturing license Nodaway Holdings. Cute little name. License number MAN000086. Got to be a man, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The division may issue a public notice of recall when a marijuana product poses a potential threat to health and safety. No adverse reactions related to the product have been reported to the division at this time, but the marijuana product in question was recalled because its design resembles non-marijuana products. Missouri regulations prohibit marijuana products from imitating the appearance of non-marijuana products or to prevent accidental consumption, particularly by children. I bet it looks like Tricks or something like that. Maybe a bag of Skittles. You guys are idiots. Get some creativity in your marketing department. A list of the recalled products is available by clicking on the link on their website. And any unused marijuana products included in the recall may be returned to the dispensary facility where they were purchased. Returned products will not count against the patient's purchase limit, which I think is cool. At least they're acknowledging that. I mean, okay, Missouri. These recalls are getting a little ridiculous. Like we've seen, I don't know, there was 60,000 on the one recall. Now we're doing all of this. Like, why don't you guys read the regulations? If you don't understand what they mean and don't understand what you can and cannot do, call me. I'm happy to explain it to you. Reach out at kindcannabis.us. But this is senseless. You guys wasted packaging, you wasted product, and you wasted your consumers' time and broke trust with your community, which is a hard thing to come back from sometimes when you are a newer brand. So I'll throw it back to you guys. But it seems like Missouri is just the gift that keeps on giving. Move over, New York.
Oh, I see what you're trying to do there, how you're trying to flame that narrative right there, Jenny Beth. I think that is very, very funny right now.
Stick to the narrative.
Stick to the narrative. I mean, Missouri's still, to me, in my opinion, the number one market in the country. And this is definitely not going to deter my thought process on that, at least.
Well, a very wise man once said, that's just like your opinion, man.
But my opinion is very valuable.
Who?
To everyone, to the world, Todd.
The number of people that said to who at the same time is my favorite portion of that.
Yeah.
Illusions of grandeur.
Oh,
Todd, are you in the hot tub right now? What's going on? Are you naked? We can't see you.
No, you can't see me. Why can't you see me?
Oh, let me see.
Here I am.
I see you just fine, Todd. I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That was my bad.
We all know that. We all know that.
It's okay. At least I take accountability.
That's right.
Take note.
Yeah. Oh man, I see what you did there. Oh boy. Sohum, what do you think about this, Sohum? Missouri.
I mean, I very much agree with what Jenny Beth said, and that I don't know, you're in a new market. The first thing you should be doing is reading the regulations very, very, very closely and making sure that whatever you're doing is being run by somebody internally from a compliance perspective, and probably through your general counsel as well. Like, I mean, in multiple states that I've worked in, we always sent final packaging renderings to council for approval, even if we were 99% sure that they were right. So I'm just kind of at a loss for words why people would go into this new market, and especially with so many states that have already legalized. You have an ample amount of experience and evidence for how to approach this. So just for the love of God, please read the regulations. And we've seen these recalls and people having to redo their packaging, and even as early as 2013, 2014 in Colorado, and it's expensive. It's very, very expensive, and it's wasteful. It's not good for the environment. So I very much back up what Jenny said, and like, read the fucking regulations.
Read the
read the
regs.
regulations, but sometimes they're, difficult to understand and interpret. And the truth is, they're not letting kids in dispensaries anyway. So why does it matter, the packaging?
Hey, I think the main reason the packaging matters is because they know that people are going to take these products home, Todd, and that the likelihood of little ones being around when they're at home, and we know that most adults just set their things everywhere and whatnot, and don't really like treat it.
Parenting doesn't come into play here.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's why. That's why. Do you have any thoughts, Dale, on this?
Well, it's not fentanyl.
Package. Go ahead, Dale.
Well, it's not fentanyl.
Yeah.
And hysteria just continues to be difficult to understand. But I agree with both Jenny and Sohum. I've had many packaging setups. I mean, I like to get to them before they even get printed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at sure the print's correct. It says all the shit it's supposed to say. The colors are okay. You're not trying to infringe on somebody else's trademarks and all that kind of stuff. And when in doubt, I'm not afraid to call up the DCC and say, hey, come on. Is this something you would approve or not before you go out there and waste all this goddamn money? Because it is. It's just a waste of money. I don't agree with the underlying premises of it, but if the regulation says it can't be like some other product out there, don't make it look like a fucking Oreo.
Yeah. Okay? I mean, Todd, the state of Nevada makes you submit all of your packaging pre before you're able even to go to market with it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know they do. And they even approve the name of the brand.
Yeah.
They approve individual SKUs in Nevada, don't they, for manufactured products?
Yeah.
Which is a pain in the ass, but honestly, it saves the operators money in situations like this, and it saves the consumers time. And like, God, just, imagine it looks like an Oreo and Rico eats it. Now we have a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, you never want those things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's just so easy. Like, if your marketing and advertising team is not good enough to come up with a, novel concept, then what are you doing?
Yeah. And after normalization, like, we need to anticipate that they're going to actually get stricter, and then you're going to get sued. So if we're going to get the industry to a place where it's widely accepted, easily accessible, we've moved beyond just a dispo model, then you have to be a good business, like I'm always saying, be a good shepherd, do your due diligence. And Jenny's right. If you're not executing your business operations all the way through, and you're lacking in spaces, and you know it because most people know it when they've made a shortcut, you have only yourself to hold accountable, is the word, I guess, for your results. So there's a level of empathy you can have for not knowing, but like in the military, Uncle Sam always said, I don't know is never an excuse.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And on that, we are going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where do I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
That's fair, but that's not.
And we are back, you guys. We are back.
All right, coming up next, right out of the ATX. I don't know if he's there right now. It looks like he's probably not. With 10 years of cannabis tech experience, my first LA roommate, Sohum Shah.
Thank you, Jenny Beth. And you're right. I am not in the ATX today, but I'm in my old stomping ground, my old hood in the LBC. Since I know Jason loves all those acronyms.
Yeah. LBC is a real acronym, by the way. ATX is not.
They're both real. People use them both, so they're both real. No. But anyway, today we're going to talk about psychedelics in Colorado. Colorado Senate committee advances bill to let the governor pardon people for low-level psychedelic offenses, and this was originally reported by Ben Adwin at Marijuana Moment. A Colorado Senate committee has advanced an amended version of a bill that would empower the governor to grant pardons to people who've been convicted of psychedelics-related offenses, while also revising implementation rules and data tracking provisions for the state's voter-passed psychedelics legalization law. At a hearing Tuesday, the Senate Appropriations Committee adopted 2 amendments to the bill, SB 25-297, before voting 5-2 to pass the measure. It next proceeds to the Senate Committee of the Whole. If enacted, it would authorize Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat, or future governors to grant clemency to people with convictions for low-level possession of substances such as psilocybin, ibogaine, and DMT that have been legalized for adults under state law. It would also require the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, or CDPHE, the Department of Revenue, and the Department of Regulatory Agencies, or DORA, to collect information and data related to the use of natural medicine and natural medicine products. This would include data on law enforcement activities, adverse health events, consumer protection claims, and behavioral impacts related to psychedelics. One of the amendments approved by the panel removes a government appropriation to pay for that data collection and tracking. The change replaces ongoing appropriations with appropriations or gifts, grants, or donations. Asked by the Senate committee chair whether there will be sufficient funding to cover the program, Senator Matt Ball, a Democrat, a sponsor of the measure, replied that lawmakers already have a letter of intent from the Psychedelic Science Funders Collaborative, a nonprofit that supports advancing psychedelic therapy, to fund the program for the entirety of its 5-year duration. The other amendment similarly discusses appropriations for the bill, earmarking $208,000 in gifts, grants, and donations to the governor's office for information technology. Quote, to implement this act, the office may use this appropriation to provide information technology services for the Department of Public Health and Environment, the amendment says. The legislation would further amend rules around licensing and ownership of psychedelic healing centers. For example, it removes a requirement for fingerprint background checks for owners and employees of licensed facilities, making it so they would only be subject to a name-based criminal background check. It additionally requires the state licensing authority to adopt rules related to product labels for regulated natural medicine and regulated natural medicine products that permits the state's licensing authority to adopt rules regarding the types of regulated products that can be manufactured. You can read more about the bill on the website and read the full article there. I think there's a couple really important, cool things that we're seeing here. Colorado being the first state to legalize adult use, we learned a lot. So reducing the background check requirements for licensees, I think, is great. Finding a way to fund the program and its oversight without using tax dollars, I think, is the biggest thing here, because as we've discussed repeatedly on this show, pitching that as a cash windfall for governments, for regulators, is a bad approach, and it usually leads to overtaxation and the proliferation of the illicit market. So I'm glad to see they've found an alternative approach to funding that oversight and regulation in Colorado, and we'll see how it goes. But this is Sohum from the LBC today for High at 9 News. Let's kick it back to the team.
Sohum, what's a low-level psychedelic offense?
I wanted to ask that too. That's funny.
Yeah, what's that defined as?
It's anything that's not distribution related, probably simple possession.
Yeah, but simple possession, I mean, I could have like 10 pounds with me. That's not distribution. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Just, just a fun guy.
You're a fun guy. See what you did there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought
that
you
dog
like that.
don't hunt very well, Jason. That dog don't hunt.
I don't see anything specifically in the article that mentions whether there's some type of possession limit or a specific type of conviction that you had to have, and maybe they had the bill was written intentionally like that so that.
Do you think it might be like a height requirement so that only the short people can possess mushrooms?
Well, then, Jason,
you would pass.
You guys are funny.
I was going to say, if they did, it would probably be the other way, where short people can't possess them.
You must be this tall to ride.
But like the gnomes grow mushrooms and stuff like that. So of course it might be for short people.
I don't know, Jason. I mean, I think first of all, Red Rocks is going to be lit this concert season. So now that nobody's scared.
Let's be real, but nothing is changing there.
Yeah,
people have been doing psychedelics at Red Rocks for like 50 years.
Literally, shout out to the lower South lot. But Yeah, I don't know. I think that this is good. I like to see Colorado actually addressing some of these things since we have, they were the first to legalize and the first to put forward real regulation. I think it's time to circle back and kind of look at what's working, what's not working traditionally, and make those adjustments. So good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reflective of the fact that you have, places like, I guess it's just Vicente now, formerly Vicente Cedarburg, and some of those organizations. I mean, a lot of the initial licensees in Colorado that transitioned to help write and draft the bill that was passed in Colorado, as well as its implementation. So we're seeing the positive effect of people who were on the ground during the initial adult use rollout in Colorado versus, bringing in regulators from some other bureaucracy like alcohol or tobacco or something else to come and regulate this. So, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think this might have a better rollout than we've seen with cannabis in just about any market.
Interesting.
Just like cannabis, this opens the door, for other states to take a look at what Colorado's doing. I think it's great for the psychedelic industry and for life in general. So, always a good move when you see some positive move of psychedelic regulation and
100%.
It's good to see, like to Sohum's point, the players who I understand that there was some concern in the earlier days of Colorado that people would be regulated out. So it's good to see those who were a part of the original legislation and behind the scenes on that work actually delivering on their promise to make things more accessible for everyone. That does not always happen in cannabis or psychedelics. And more often than not, it goes the other way. So good to see Colorado leading the way on this. Hopefully everyone can learn from that model.
We shall see. Time will tell. They'll screw it up.
Or actually regulated out or priced out of the market, and a lot of those people that are involved with it ended up selling their initial licenses to bigger operators, chains, and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll see this rollout happen in a way where that's not a huge risk as it was with adult use.
Time will tell. I'm sure Colorado will screw it up just like they screwed up weed and everything else too. And you know what I'm saying? I'm sure.
Always so positive, Jason.
I'm just a realist.
It's a really good news.
I've operated in the Colorado market. I haven't never been a licensed operator, but I've definitely operated in the Colorado market.
I mean, Colorado has one of the most functional adult use systems in terms of reducing the trap and capturing demand in licensed retail space.
I don't know if I'm buying that. It was the first city I ever saw weed for sale on Craigslist, so I'm not buying that.
Light years ahead of California.
No, it's nice try, Sohum. Nice try. That's cute.
If you're wrong, Jason,
that's cute. We're keeping it rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they are ratchet, as we discussed earlier. He's honest and he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinions, and everyone else's. And he will show you how to defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right. It is none other your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at the law office of Dale Schafer. It is Mr. Attorney at Law, Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My story this morning comes out of Marijuana Moment from yesterday, Kyle Yeager. And the headline is Trump's first attorney general pick shares theory about why marijuana hasn't been federally legalized yet. The thrust of this is Matt Gaetz. I don't know if that's the first time he said it, but he pointed out that there is a group of libertarian-leaning Republicans in the Senate, in the Congress, basically, and they would like to join with the Democrats to legalize cannabis at the federal level. I think it's stupid that it's continued to be like this. I agree. But what he also points out is that the problem with the libertarian-leaning Republicans is that the Black Caucus and the Democratic Party is demanding that federal legalization start issuing reparations to Black people. And that's what kills Republican Senate support and the congressional support, especially from the libertarian-leaning Republicans. Now, this, I think, is a setup for a discussion about whether the perfect is the enemy of the good. Because in a big picture, federal legalization is what we want. Okay. And when you drill down to see, well, why isn't it happening? We discussed many times on this program all the different predilections of people, their preconceived notions about cannabis, especially, and blah, blah, blah. But this is a political fight at a level that I don't know how we fix this without addressing it and putting it on the table. Now, full disclosure, my family has some shit to explain about what they did to African Americans who fought in the Civil War. One of them murdered a black man for disrespecting his wife. And, you know, I think how in the hell could that have happened? But it did. There's a lot of things that happen in the history of the United States that you look back and think that was pretty shitty. Okay. Why did it happen? I'm also an attorney. I understand that we have a fault-based system here. And if somebody did something to you and you can prove it, they should pay you back. That's a simple explanation. It doesn't deal with a larger question about how society and laws were allowed to discriminate and keep people down for years. Can't ignore that happened. Okay? But now, if we're at a federal level and we have a group in the Democratic Party demanding something that it seems like it's a righteous thing to demand, but the question is, how do you do it? And you're holding up, if you believe this, they're holding up legislation which would be good for everybody because there's a hill they're ready to die on. And just to point out to my Democratic friends, there were a lot of hills that a lot of factions of the Democratic Party were willing to die on. And guess what? They fucking died there. Okay? Because the Democrats got their ass kicked because there were so many hills they're willing to die on. They kind of forgot about the average Mary and Joe Dokes who go to the voting booth and vote for them. If nobody paid attention, more people didn't vote for either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris and voted for either one of them. Okay? So there's a whole lot of people out there just scratching their head. Why are people being like this? Why do they stake flags someplace that they're refusing to come off of in order to try to get something accomplished? Now, I'm not telling anybody how to think about this. I think it's something that needs to be put on the table and talked about. I have a lot of social equity clients. Have in the past. I think that as prohibition goes away, we need to look out for how do we correct some of the shit that's happened in the past, for stupid prohibitionary laws, and for mentality of people in this country that put the thumb on the scale against others. And here we are. Now, like I said, I don't have an answer for this. I can just point out that perfect, as Voltaire said, is the enemy of the good. Where can we find a place to compromise if these Republicans want to look at social equity and reparations and have it sort of taken off the table, and there's a faction, Democratic Party, that says, no, we've got to have them? How do we break this logjam? I'm going to throw it back at you for your comment. And as I say, I don't really have a staked out position on this. I'm a pragmatist and a realist. And we fix some shit here.
Yeah, it's a dumb flag to die for. That's for sure. It's I can't let it go. Don't they know that reparations are only for January 6th?
Oh, stop it.
So it's an unwinnable argument that they're making. And you're right. It's a thorn in the side of progress. And it's a bad hill to
I think one thing that we could do is maybe start to introduce, so years back, I would say at least this has been a conversation for a while, and these legislators aren't getting their ideas on their own. They are hearing from people, right? So we need to edify and continue to refine the ideas, and we need to separate them out, because we saw New York attempt to do this, and then we saw the New York market get shut down through litigation because of the inequity in how the application of the law was. And I understand the reparations conversation. I think that is largely driven by what, there have been many nations that have paid reparations to people or states, nation states in the past, like Germany, that is a way of keeping folks globally accountable. And I understand, especially being Mexican American And, the word marijuana, the whole freaking everything, how this all began and everything, it goes back and it touches all of us, right? So the question is, how do we start to introduce new ideas, concepts, ways of looking at problem solving at the legislative level and also throughout the industry, so that way those conversations can ripple up to the legislature? Because we do need to work on the reframing, regardless of where you land on it. The reality is how we write the law and then how we execute it. And then also, I just want to bring it to your attention. If you're fighting for equity, we've literally got citizens being deported. So, and I'm saying that as one of your veterans, hello, big red flag. So there's a lot of shit that shouldn't happen, but it
We've
does.
had citizens deported.
Yes, U.S.
Like who?
citizens deported. Let's talk. We're just talking about, look at the history and why do we want reparations and why does it touch the cannabis industry? And then there are other populations that are also affected, and those populations are currently having an experience right now that is designed in a very specific way to affect a very specific group of people. Let's just be really clear. And I'm coming at you from Texas. So we have to start having conversations and gut reality checks about how things actually happen in our state, in our country, so we can find new ways to introduce new ideas, new concepts, and new ways of getting to the next step of the conversation, because thus far we haven't left Reconstruction.
Who are you referring to that was a U.S. citizen that was deported?
There's
plenty of them.
No, there's not. Stop that. Those are not U.S. citizens.
Well, since we're talking
John, of
about
course, you're coming to us from an undisclosed location, right?
We can talk about a few summers ago when ICE was in Texas targeting U.S. citizens of a certain descent. And I saw this, my family experienced it in grocery stores. Please do not gaslight on this particular issue. It is the reality of what is actually happening in our nation. I don't care who you voted for. I did what I did in the military to help us all be able to have that conversation, but I won't be gaslit about the reality of what's happening in our country, how it parallels other issues, and that reparations is a conversation that is largely driven by history, and we need to start to have new conversations, but I'm not going to be gaslit. Thank you.
As the Black woman on the show, I have a thing or two to say about a thing or two.
Oh boy, here we go. I have a thing after you're done.
Yeah, you can have a thing all you want. You've got to read Super Chat too.
Yes.
So yeah, when we're talking about reparations, we are talking about slavery, right? So let's compartmentalize this. What we don't want to do is we're not going to compare harm or compare trauma, right? But it is important that what we're talking about with this story is the issue of reparations, right? So I don't believe that the cannabis industry should be responsible for providing reparations for the harm that was done to Black people. So I believe in equity. I think equity is very important. I think equity should be a large portion of the conversation. I don't think that this is where reparations come into play. I think there's an argument to be made that there's, disproportionately affected by the war on drugs in the Black community. And I think that's a much stronger argument than saying, hey, blanket reparations. I think that it's really important that we don't totally muddy the waters. And I think that it's important that these voices are heard and we take it seriously, because this is generational harm. And this is generational trauma, and it shouldn't be swept under the rug, and it can't be swept under the rug. Growing up in the South, growing up biracial, I've seen things said on both sides, right? And until we actually address these issues and we say, hey, this tremendous wrong was done to Black people, and we start moving forward with that spirit and with that mentality, not saying, yeah, this sucks for Black people, but look what's happening to this. And I stubbed my toe on Tuesday and, whatever. We have to address it, because otherwise Black people feel minimalized and we continue to create this divide, because it's like, okay, well, your hurt was a long time ago, so it no longer matters. So I think we need to be very cautious when we're dealing with everyone's trauma and everything that's happening. But yeah, I think that it's really unfortunate that this is going to be the linchpin in what could have pushed forward federal legalization. I think that is something that I definitely don't stand behind, but I do think that it needs to be addressed separately.
I would agree with you that on that, Jesse, because Jenny, I'm sorry. The thing about it is this, and I'm willing to walk through this drill with you guys, because I just, I like to play these kinds of things out in my head. This is always a good interesting time. I see Dale shaking his head already. So let's just say that we're going to give reparations to people that were affected by the drug war. How are we going to define people affected by the drug war? First of all, does that mean that you were arrested for a drug-related offense? Does that mean that like you could have killed someone in a robbery of a drug offense, and so therefore you're entitled to reparations too? Like where are we going to draw the lines to even do this in the first place? And so I agree with you, Jenny Beth. It has to be something that's done totally separately. It has to be a totally separate issue, totally separate legislation altogether, every which way around, if we're going to do something like that.
And let's use a term like restorative justice. Let's use a term that makes a little bit more sense, so we're not muddying the waters and confusing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm not mad at that.
What Jenny says, and yes, and one thing that I think the Democrats could learn from their own playbook, like let's take a look at California and the over-regulation. They strangled the market, and what I'll tell you what that does for the groups that we're talking about is just makes it so much harder to operate a legal business. Like the deck is already stacked against you. And then on top of that, like they over-regulate so much. So I think when we talk about introducing new language, perhaps the threshold should be accessibility. Like, why are these fees so exorbitant? We know that $1 million fees do not mean that you are going to produce a high quality product, and that you can have small mom and pops operators who can make a living and pay a reasonable ag licensing fee. Like, we have overcomplicated it. And I would have to point that at the Democratic Party. That's largely like the thing that they love to do. On the other side, we need to make it accessible. We need to have a new conversation about how this is happening. Yes, it's very sensitive right now because we're literally having our laws overturned in Texas. Our industry is like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Will it be Trapper's Paradise? Or are we finally going to get some reasonable regulation?
Trapper's Paradise.
Exactly. And it's just, look, you got good people doing the right thing. It's easier for them to do the right thing and stop the nonsense. I think libertarians would get on board with that. Just sorry, guys.
Any thoughts on this, Todd?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think he is right. We have to handle this separately, and the way I think the cannabis industry is trying to handle this stuff is through equity, social equity programs, even though they're not the best and they're not really thought out properly and they're still failing. But that's the plan for them, at least, right? And we should write this date down, because you're even right here, Jason. How do you determine, what?
Just saying,
who gets a reparation?
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Walking across the street smoking a joint.
All of a sudden,
guy, smuggling in 1 million pounds.
Yeah, all of a sudden we're giving reparations for all the cartel members and everything that are lacing our streets with fentanyl and everything. Like, exactly. Where do we draw the line? Where do the lines get drawn in the sand in this?
For the J6 criminals. So
there's no criminals on J6. Stop
destroy
it.
Property, then reparations are okay.
The only criminals were the CIA and FBI agents that were enticing that whole thing.
Yeah,
bro, I got tons of footage of it. I can show you. I can show you all the provocateurs on all of this.
I'm sure you do.
Tons of it.
Well, I think it's clear there's been a pendulum swing here. And what I'm seeing is that there was so many things that the Democratic Party tried to accomplish, and they were willing to, plant their flag and die for that. And they lost track of Mary and Joe Dokes, the average person who pays the bills. Government cannot fix every problem in this country. If you think it can, you're probably a Democrat and you got your head up your ass. Okay? But you can't just ignore that shit's been done to people in this country intentionally through legislation that needs to be addressed. And we've also got equal protection in there. So how do you target a group that's been historically oppressed without violating equal protection? And that's the conundrum we have right now. And my Democratic friends, I keep pointing out to them, you guys just wanted to fix every social problem in the world through the government. The government cannot fix. We're 30-something trillion in debt because we're trying to fix every wrong in the world. We have to back up and look at, okay, what can we realistically address? How much is it going to cost? And we just can't fix every problem in the world.
I agree with you. Go ahead.
It's giving Nancy Pelosi kneeling in kente cloth. Like, it's performative. So some of us
that is definitely a performance. I agree with you 100% on that one, Shaun. That was definitely a performance. And I do want to read out a super chat that we did get in a little while ago from Doyle Wayne, who wants to know what Jenny's handicap is.
It's a 20.
It's a 20. Jenny's rolling on dubs, apparently.
Donald Trump might even be able to play with you, right?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Depending on the day.
Yeah.
See her and Kai teaming up against Grandpa.
I was a scratch golfer, Jenny.
Were you? I love it. I'm not
today, but
I am
back
not.
in the day.
You know who's
scratch
really
miniature
good?
golfer. I'm a scratch
really
miniature
good?
golfer.
Peter from Plug and Play is a 2. He is insanely good.
You know, the thing about it, Dale, I have to agree with you on it. You know, and I do want to make a special note of this because I did get a text super crazy early this morning. Like around probably like 4 a.m. this morning about a little update, and I hope we'll have a story in regards with this. But you know, Senator Cory Booker wanted to grandstand and say, hey, you know what? We're not passing any safe banking until we get some type of equity reform involved because we're not passing this bill that's only going to benefit white dudes and banks and da 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 da.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm just saying that plays exactly into this whole storyline, Jenny Beth. And
that's the problem, and that's why there's so much division in this country, because we'd rather race bait than solve issues.
I agree with that. And a little bit of safe banking news. Steve Daines will no longer be the lead Republican in the Senate on the bill, and he's handing the reins over to freshman Ohio Senator and my personal friend Bernie Moreno. And Bernie is on the Senate Banking Committee, and I can't wait to send him a congratulations text in regards to this. So hopefully we'll have some kind of story on that tomorrow. But on that, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Like 3%.
And we are back, you guys. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And if you're feeling a little thirsty out there, make sure that you use the link in our bio to order yourself a case of Liberal Tears. It comes in Patriot Peach. It's non-sugar energy beverage, 150 milligrams of caffeine in every can, and it's 1,000 Liberal Tears in every can, Todd.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes.
Bring it up the rear. Looking at butts.
And we are back, you guys, and we are going to roll right into Miss Shaun Salvaje. She's a mom. She's a military veteran who served our country proud. She's coming in from the great red state of Texas, and that's right, out there in Austin. It is actually, that's this actual real name, although everyone wants to say whatever and whatever. And she is also a legal. How do I always get this word on the tip of my tongue. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Shaun. You're going to have to help me out.
Mediator.
Yes, a legal mediator. I was going to say litigator, as I knew that wasn't the word.
No,
she's a legal
a lawyer.
Yes, she's a legal mediator that can help you before you have to go and call Mr. Tio Loco at his personal law office. That's right. It is none other than Miss Shaun Salvaje.
Thanks, Jason. I have an interesting story today. Really, it's from Forbes, so it's good to see this kind of coverage in Forbes, more mainstream publication. So, cannabis may boost memory and PTSD, but harm it in others, study suggests. No shit, Sherlock. I think we are beyond understanding that it's a unique and individual experience, but it's good to start to see this conversation unfold on a more national stage. Hopefully we'll get somewhere with it. So regular cannabis use could boost a key memory function in people with PTSD, according to a new study, which shows that for those with severe symptoms, cannabis may improve the brain's ability to distinguish between similar but different experiences or memories. However, for people with mild or no PTSD, pay attention, friends, the effect might be the opposite. Cannabis as a medicine, who would have thought? In a study published in the scientific journal MPJ Mental Health Research, researchers from the University of California, San Diego, and the VA, San Diego healthcare system. Yes, love this. Love that the VA is starting to get involved, because that means we can start to build more traction for something legislatively on a nationwide scale. So when we start, the VA starts to do studies and get involved, it's a positive sign. They looked into how cannabis affects memory in people with post-traumatic stress disorder. I am actually a rated veteran. I've got PTSD, all sorts of crazy shit, and I do use cannabis to manage my symptoms. I'm registered in the teacup, and hemp products have been a lifesaver out here. Thank you, THCA. A mental health condition, so PTSD, a mental health condition triggered by experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. Each year, around 3.6% of adults in the U.S. experience PTSD. That number is significantly higher for your veterans, especially those who did any time in Iraq and Afghanistan. There's a lot of TBI, inflammation, other issues going on there, because the way that warfare was conducted significantly changed. It became asymmetric. And we were living, and they didn't anticipate that. We were living, but getting our heads really shook up and a couple of things blown off sometimes. Among other things, we won't talk about the burn pits. Cannabis use among people with PTSD has been growing in recent years. A 2020 study found that around 8.4% of those using medical cannabis in the U.S. listed PTSD as their main reason for use. For example, one of the main reasons why the Ukraine legalized medical cannabis in 2023 was to treat PTSD due to the war with Russia. Of course, because who hasn't used the plant to help pull themselves back and look at life with a wider lens of perspective, and used it to reflect in a way that was almost spiritual, right? Whether you're using it for adult use, recreationally, medicinally, therapeutically, many people have reported these experiences similar to mushrooms. So it's frustrating, because we're seeing a lot of similarities and how cannabis can be so therapeutic, easily accessible. You could grow it at home and it could help mitigate so many issues, but we're making this harder than it needs to be. One key memory function affected by PTSD is called mnemonic pattern separation. This process helps the brain distinguish between experiences that are similar but not identical. It primarily occurs in the hippocampus, a brain region that is crucial for learning and memory. When mnemonic pattern separation doesn't work well, which is common in PTSD, people, likely because of inflammation, people may start to confuse safe situations with past danger, which is why sometimes you can see instances where people are re-triggered and digress back to a previous state, to a traumatic event, whether they have a flashback or not. Like, it's been glamorized by Hollywood, I understand. But sometimes your body and your regulatory system, your physiological system, can have a memory, and your physiology will respond even if in your waking life you are managing yourself, right? Or you think you are. So this is how intertwined this stuff is, and we're still putting things together. In order to explore how cannabis affects this process, researchers assessed 111 participants, cute number, suffering from a variety of PTSD symptoms. So what they essentially found is that if you have PTSD, it's incredibly beneficial. But if you're using it and you don't have these symptoms, much like Adderall, you know, there was a lot of people who were using Adderall. It was, I don't know if it's still popular, but when I was in college, very popular. And I actually have ADD. So for me, when I would take a small dose, it would actually be really soothing and I would be calmer. And they would be hyped up. Why? Because their physiology, like their system, didn't actually need it. So it produces a different result. And I'm really looking forward to the day when the people can be entrusted with more of their own health when it comes to cannabis and probably mushrooms as well. Especially like we saw in that Colorado article, synthetic psilocybin. I have questions. Big ones, because now we're talking about a brave new world, and I want to be a little bit careful. I've seen too much so far. I'm a jaded millennial, I guess, but it's good to see these kinds of studies coming forward. It's good to see that the VA is participating, and it's good that we're starting to understand how actually the things that we all thought as regular consumers who were observing our own physiology and our relationship with the plant, hopefully, because I think this also will have some answers for us when it comes to cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. It's because your cannabinoids, you're good. Slow down, back off a bit. But when it comes to treating that, or when it comes to treating PTSD, it's just nice to see that we're finding some resolution and some investment into studies that we can actually use to expand the industry and help legislators understand more. It's always a win. So I have been going for a minute. I'm going to toss it back to you guys. I would love to hear your insights and feedback.
What were we talking about?
Oh, you're
PTSD.
so funny. You're so funny.
Just saying, I was.
How you remember?
Todd loves
memory
a troll.
joke.
Yeah.
These are the jokes. Stay with me.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
any advancement that we could make with PTSD is a positive. So Cicely was doing a lot of work back in the day. Anything we could do to forward.
Yeah,
I'm all for.
Yeah, exactly. I'm for anything that helps our veterans overall, all day, every day, in relation with that. And I'm very much for this whole movement for the veterans. What do you guys say, Jenny?
I still think cannabis hyperemesis syndrome's a crock of shit, and it's probably more
too.
like acid poisoning. But hey, that's just me.
I would agree with that. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's people that believe they have it. You're on mute, Dale.
PTSD's been around for a minute.
And a lot of those people weren't able to participate in the studies because of the number of psych drugs that they were on. So, like, come on, we need to. There's something called interactions that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's stop blaming everything on the weed.
That's a fair point.
Well, PTSD is something that's been a recent diagnosis, but the phenomenon is not brand new. You put human beings under stress like combat, where someone's trying to kill you, triggers a lot of people to have long-term consequences of that. I have PTSD. I never went into combat. I just stood there and watched people die and get mangled and shit like that. And the modern soldier is different than the Vietnam era where I was in. You did 12 to 13 months deployment, and then you never went back. We send these poor bastards back again and again and again. And it really is a problem. And I can point out that psilocybin and cannabis have been around for a long time too. Okay. And ergot, which is what they make LSD out of, ergot was used as a solution to give you hallucinations thousands of years ago. People have known about this. We just went through this period where we puckered up our butts and tried to prohibit everything for about a century. And we had a disaster from it. And I think people, I mean, I don't advocate you take acid and drive. I did it. I'll tell you, it's stupid. Don't fucking do it. But if you want to take some mushrooms to make yourself feel better, what the fuck business is that with the government? Stay away from them, okay? And I've got so many veteran friends that they use everything from ketamine to DMT to ayahuasca. They smoke a lot of weed, and they are better off than when they had a bag full of psychotropic drugs, which psychiatrists would throw at you without even hesitation.
Try this. See how this one works. Try that. See how that one works.
Yeah.
Stacks.
And
Stacks.
Steve,
I recommend Google Unprescribed. It's a great documentary. It talks about that. Sue's in it. The other thing is that what's exciting though is usually, so GPS started with the United States Air Force needing to know where the hell it wanted to go. And now what do we have? Google Maps, GPS, all this crazy shit where we know where we are, where everybody is. And like, we didn't anticipate all that. With the VA and the military now participating in this, as well as running psychedelic trials, which I have a little concern. I'm not going to lie, on the psychedelics, I have a lot of concern actually because of previous projects that have been disclosed to the public. I have questions like, should they be running those programs? Maybe we need to create another agency or something. I know we don't like a lot of agencies or letters, but it is what it is. But with the VA investing in exploring this, we also have American citizens have PTSD for a variety of things. We are actually like in the middle of a mental health crisis. I used to run a ketamine clinic and other psychedelic. I've been in cannabis and psychedelics. So the thing, we have a mental health crisis. We don't have enough therapists to address it. And right now, the nation, regardless of where you are, is at a very deep divide, and it's being exacerbated by social media, all these other things. So, like, we have problems.
Social media is the biggest problem overall. That's the biggest, we
got a lot of them. But the opportunity to bring, like, mushrooms and cannabis, at the very least, forward and study those is really good because it's more sustainable. And then it also, like, the mushrooms we can grow ourselves, because I worry about some of these other things like depleting resources in the Amazon if we're not growing our own vines for ayahuasca, or although it would be great for it. Like, there's so many layers to it. Seeing at least this move forward is progress, but let's also be very mindful about how fast, like, we drive all these things out.
Yeah, and Steve Blessingham says in the chat, he says, my wife's family mostly grew up in Baghdad during the wars. I know for a fact they all have PTSD, but they don't want to look at it. And Miss Leah Patrick, she says, my dad was a MASH Army nurse, came back not the same. He turned to alcohol. God rest his soul. And there's so many stories exactly like this, on and on and on, when it comes to PTSD, and you know what I'm saying, it's super sad, and it can be super traumatic. I mean, I remember there was one veteran that I used to take care of, and he all of a sudden he was at the counter, and some Asian lady walked up to the door. Dale, this is one of the craziest things, and he literally instantly dropped down to one knee and grabbed his cane like it was a gun. And like it was like whoa, like he literally thought that he was back in Vietnam for a minute. Like, it took him probably about 30 seconds to snap out of it and realize that he was, you know what I'm saying, he was back here at home. And so it's a very real thing, and I feel terrible for all the people that suffer from this, and hopefully we can make some progress with this, and this will be helpful. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
It's all about the kids.
That you know, it's
Kids.
Oh,
actually,
and we are back, you guys. All you guys protecting all those kids out there. You know what I'm saying? Jenny Beth, you ready? You ready to introduce Todd?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Straight out of Las Vegas, Nevada, the owner of DigiPath Labs and the founder of the I forgot what it's called, Todd. What's
The
it called?
the Smuggleverse.
The Smuggleverse.
I
Yes.
got it. I remembered it last minute. The bald head on the High at 9 News, Todd Denkin.
Thank you very much. I think there are many bald heads, aren't there? Or am I the only one?
I don't know, man. You're definitely the closest to Mr. Clean.
Got it. Well, we've talked about New York. They are back in the news because New York's marijuana market is booming with sales nearing $1.5 billion as the number of legal cannabis stores nearly tripled last year, according to a report by the Office of Cannabis Management. In 2024, the state saw a surge in licensed retail locations, reaching 260 stores and offering over 500 brands, which fueled sales of $869 million last year. Since the market's inception, these stores have sold over $1 billion in legal marijuana. The growth continued into 2025, bringing New York's legal cannabis market close to $1.5 billion in total sales, according to an OCM report, which highlights the positive impact of a well-regulated market. Putting significant sales growth and increased tax revenue. Acting Executive Director Felicia A.B. Reed emphasized the commitment to creating opportunities for communities historically affected by cannabis prohibition. Efforts to build an equitable industry are evident. Social and economic equities applicants holding 55% of licenses, including 81% of retail dispensary licenses. Conditional adult use retail dispensary program aimed at addressing past enforcement disparities accounted for 70% of open retailers at the end of 2024. Sales were strongest in densely populated areas like Manhattan, Queens, and Long Island. The report provides regulators with crucial information to oversee and adjust the state system, promoting inclusion, fairness, and sustainability as outlined in the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act. John Kagia, OCM's Executive Deputy Director of Market Policy, stated that the comprehensive data helps understand the market's current state, enabling proactive regulatory decisions to support businesses facing competitive pressures. As of April, 368 retailers have been licensed statewide, sales nearing $1.5 billion. The report also explores market trends, including consumer preferences for non-flower products like vape products and edibles. Flower products accounted for less than half of sales, reflecting strong demand for value-added items. This aligns with a CDC report showing a decrease in flower use and increases in edibles and vape cartridges. For flower purchases, 63% of consumers buy 3.5 gram packages, also known as an eighth, while 23% of sales are from state licensed medical marijuana operators. Pre-rolled joints are popular, with most being 1 gram each. Packages with multiple pre-rolls dominate sales. OCM reported a report recommends educating consumers about the legal market. Most demand comes from those transitioning from the illicit market. Consumer education is crucial for informed purchasing decisions and understanding regulated products' effects. Right ahead of the 420 holiday, regulators launched a, quote, higher education, unquote, campaign to help adults make informed cannabis decisions, including locating state licensed retailers. The office also stresses the importance of continued enforcement against the illicit market, citing successful efforts like Operation Padlock, which increased sales in licensed shops. In legislative development, senators introduced a bill to decriminalize drug possession broadly, and several psychedelic bills are under consideration, including one to legalize psilocybin and ibogaine for adults 21 years and older. Governor Kathy Hochul argued that increased enforcement correlates with rising legal sales. Despite initial challenges, the state's marijuana market is showing promising growth, with efforts to ensure a fair and sustainable industry. I'm Todd Denkin on High at 9 News, the bald guy. And is New York getting its shit together, or is $1 billion and a half dollars going to save the industry in New York?
They're totally gaslighting you on this, Todd. The fact that they even stated that Operation Padlock contributed to more adult use sales and revenue is just total ridiculousness. None of the people that shop at those stores are going into legal stores all of a sudden now because of Operation Padlock. They're just going to some other bodega around the next corner.
Yeah, but how are those numbers tracked, though? You know?
Well, look, if Cali sells what it sells, and of the numbers that we have from Texas's hemp industry, which is where our market has landed, because most people transition out of the trap thinking this would be the pathway. So, which stands at a substantial number, 5 to 8 billion, and New York only 1.5 billion. Something's not adding up. It was the thing that I do like in the article, though, is looking at the prices for zips. If you use 3.5, 7s, and 14s, I really like being able to see all of the pricing across different states and getting to analyze how, when you make a market legal and you create the opportunity, you actually see the consumers benefit, because as long as you keep it unregulated, then unless you no, it's just prices are exorbitant in places where they don't have regulation, but also we can't go so far as whatever happened in California. Whoa, that's too much, and you guys are being crazy taxed. I heard that the pre-rolls are $3. Is that true? $3 or $4? Can you even get a
$3?
Of course you can. Of course you can. But it's trim inside, Sean. It's nothing that you would want to smoke. You know what I mean?
Well, then fine. I would never. I was just what is that average price? I don't. But
$15 for a pre-roll in Nevada.
Let's be more let's get more data all together, because we need to start looking at this. Not just
all pre-rolls are not the same.
Huh?
So just because you can get it, all pre-rolls are not the same. Judge by the price. Don't judge by the THC percentage either. That's probably your worst marker that you could go off of, because you could easily just throw some distillate in there and all of a sudden your number's sky high and it's still just boof.
Yeah, that's true, and a lot of people are doing that to try to resuscitate a product they couldn't move.
The only way distillate really affects the pre-roll is if you match the weight of the boof weed with the really good distillate, right? So you really have to soak it in that stuff.
If you had bad flour, are you really going to put really good distillate in your bad flour?
First of all, really good distillate is an oxymoron.
No, I hear you, man.
Just saying.
I don't want any bad weed.
Yeah,
joints.
Yeah. Exactly. Jenny, you have any thoughts on this, New York? I mean, they're having their whole problem with what is it called when you bring product? They made a funny term, inversion going on over there in New York.
They're bringing it in because they can't grow enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Cali weed, Jason.
Everyone wants Cali weed. Fair enough. Fair enough. Everybody wants Cali weed. Speaking of Cali weed, I'm gonna roll.
You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll into my story.
Oh yeah, we're gonna roll into bringing up the rear, the biggest ass at the High at 9 News Hour. Jason Beck.
Rough, Jenny Beth.
The crowd goes wild.
You hear that? She called me the biggest ass.
You're the caboose. You're the booty.
Fair enough.
Said you had the biggest ass.
Fair enough. Well, let me tell you something, guys. Man. And Jenny, this is my first attempt at shortening down the story. So I'm really curious to hear.
Shit.
Yeah. I tried something new. I tried something new today because, you know what I'm saying? I want you guys tell me what you guys think. All right. Because California's cannabis industry pushes back against the tax hikes with AB 564, you guys. Dale, this is right up your alley right here. California's legal cannabis industry is struggling under heavy taxes and regulations, and a scheduled excise tax increase from 15 to 19% set for July 1st could devastate businesses already in the brink. In response, the California Assembly Business and Professionals Committee unanimously passed AB 564, introduced by Assembly member Matt Haney, to block this hike and protect the legal market. And you want to ask, why AB 564 matters? Well, legal cannabis businesses face steep taxes and compliance costs, yet they hold only 40% of California's cannabis market, with 60% controlled by the untaxed illicit operators. I wonder how they came up with that figure. The planned tax increase threatens to push more businesses under, and at a recent hearing, Haney warned that, in a quote, this tax increase would be an extinction event, signaling a breaking point for growers, distributors, and retailers. AB 564 seeks to freeze that tax rate at 15%, giving legal operators a chance to survive. The industry's decline is alarming. Active cannabis licenses fell 18% in 2024, with major companies like MedMen and Herbal closing their doors, and smaller operators, especially social equity licenses designed to support communities harmed by past criminalization, face even tougher odds. High taxes undermine Proposition 64, which promised a safe, equitable legal market. Instead, costly legal products drive consumers to cheaper, unregulated alternatives, risking public safety. The cost of overtaxation, you ask? Well, that is AB 564 doesn't cut taxes. It prevents a tax hike that would further weaken the legal market. A 19% tax rate would make legal cannabis less competitive, shrinking revenues for businesses and the state. And Kristen Hediobach of the United Food and Commercial Workers cautioned and says, in a quote, "It is possible to tax an industry to death. Overtaxing legal operators while ignoring the illicit market could collapse the regulated industry, reducing tax revenue rather than boosting it." And what's next for AB 564? AB 564 passed 15-0 by the subcommittee, and it heads to the Assembly Revenue and Taxation Committee on May 5th. That's Cinco de Mayo, you guys. That's on Monday. Discussions will likely focus on fiscal impacts, as some fear a frozen tax rate could reduce funding for services like youth programs. And Haney is open to compromises, but opposition from groups benefiting from cannabis taxes creates uncertainty. Yep, there's a lot of those, and all those special interest groups. Assembly member Haney has already shown a willingness to work toward a compromise, even circulating draft amendments that could address concerns over lost revenue streams. And still, opposition remains from groups benefiting from cannabis taxes, making the road ahead uncertain. You guys, a call for action that they are asking for is organizations like California Normal are mobilizing support for AB 564, urging the public to contact legislators. A strong legal cannabis industry boosts California's economy and communities, but it needs fair policies, and taxing businesses into oblivion threatens the regulated market voters envisioned with Prop 64. AB 564 is a vital step toward equality and sustainability. By halting the tax hike in California can protect legal operators, curb illicit sales, and build safe, accessible cannabis market. Act now and support AB 564 to secure the future of legal cannabis. You guys, what do y'all have to say about this?
How does it stop illegal sales?
I agree with you, Dale. It doesn't do anything to stop legal sales. I'm with you. I'm with you, Todd. I'm with you. I'm with you, Todd. I'm with you, Todd.
I just want you to stop crying about the fucking trap. The trap is not our problem. The taxation and the licensing costs are our problem.
Exactly.
If you're going to buy a fucking pound, you're not coming into Oz and WeHo to do it.
No, no, you're not. You know what I mean? You're running into one of these distros. You know what I'm saying?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
It goes back to Dale's article of like, can the Democrats learn? I was reading an article about it was California in surplus or deficit, and I guess that last month they asked for $73 billion more than like they had a surplus and now they want to spend 73 billion more. And it has largely to do with they depleted tax resources. So it sounds like they've had this cash cow, though I can't imagine how much cannabis tax is contributing overall to the larger budget of California.
Oh, a lot, because a majority of it goes into the general fund and just gets washed away. Shaun, it's almost like a money laundering scheme, like USAID.
How much is it as far as the percentage of, if there was $100 billion surplus, what percentage of that would have come from cannabis though? Like, that's my question. But here's why, and it's not honestly relevant, because the deal is they're going to squeeze everybody that they can for taxes where they can, because they cut and they spent. And now they want to, in the government, when you start to budget, they tell you, if you don't spend it this year, you're not getting it next year. So they have a surplus and they're like, oops, we need to spend it. So they're coming back to be like, oh, we actually need 73,000. So that way they can have between 73 and 100 next year, if that's the budget, I'm sorry, you guys are getting squeezed, but yeah. And
I want to hear what you got to say about this, Dale, because you've been, what I'm saying, we were talking about this offline beforehand too.
Well, I just did some revisions and amendments to 64 and Mount Cursa. And one of them is to take away constitutionally the ability of local jurisdictions to tax and regulate this shit. Stop it. And not prohibit it. It's treated more like alcohol. Take away the local taxes, local regulations, and drop the excise tax down to 3%, which is where distilled alcohol is. And what I did is I took out my eraser and I erased every one of these goddamn special interest groups. And it's like, you guys want money? Go do what we have to do. Go beg at the legislature. They are killing our industry right now, and they don't seem to give a shit because they just want their money. And I think the general public out there is ready to go, you know what? All we're seeing here is special interest pushing people to the black market because we cannot set up and run a legal industry. This is got to be fixed. I'm going to make my pitch to the Democratic Party. I'm going to go to the front door, knock on the door, and say, I'm here. We got a problem. Can we do this? My expected answer is, well, we've got all these special interest groups with their hands out.
Exactly.
My answer is, fuck you. We're going back to the people. We'll be looking to see if we can shake. I'm going to call up Bill Maher. Hey, you guys have a store. How about we throw some money into this? Let's go back to the people. Because what happened in the last election is these soft on crime DAs were just thrown out. Fuck you, we don't want more. Black market is winning and smiling about it, and local governments will not allow businesses to operate and function in their jurisdictions. That's got to pull the plug on that and stop it. California right now is the epitome of how stupid the Democrats can be. They look elitist. They're just looking to get money. They don't give two shits about the average working person out there or trying to set up an industry. And it's not just the Democrats. The Republicans that don't want this doing the same goddamn thing. They all need to be called out. And let's go back to the voters and have them stop this nonsense. Because they look at this, alcohol is more dangerous than cannabis. The average person understands that. But yet cannabis is treated like depleted uranium and, the children and some kid might get dummy or something like that. Meanwhile, you've got bus stops sitting right next to places where they're selling fucking beer. Okay. It's like nobody seems to understand the hypocrisy of those arguments. It's time to just put a spotlight on it, point out that you've got your head up your ass here. Pay attention to what the average voter wants. And they want this to be fixed. And they want to go on to bigger issues. And
Dale, to your point about bringing Bill Maher, the Woods, which is that store, they are a sponsor of ours here at High at 9 News. And so, if you want, I'm more than happy to connect you with them, and maybe we can get something going on as far as a voter initiative. Maybe Catalyst will want to help out with that too, possibly. And what I'm saying, we'll start a whole thing, but we definitely need a whole new proposition on the ballot, because otherwise it's not going to get fixed, because these special interests are not going to stop wanting their issue, as they would call it.
Well, but as you know, I can work with both sides. I'm more of a centrist. I was raised a Republican. I'm a Democrat for life, but I'm more of a centrist. It's like, You guys can't even see how fucking stupid your policies are. You don't want to pay attention to it because everybody out there getting money is lobbying you. Let's not fix it. Well, I don't have a problem helping out, kids and drug education, stuff like that. But you're killing the goose that's laying the golden egg. And at the end of the day, if everybody's going, well, what happened? There's no more money coming. Yeah, because you killed the cash cow that was feeding you because you would not give up it's like Gollum in the fucking ring. Oh, it's mine. I can't let go of it. No, well, you're going to kill an industry.
Yep.
I think the general public is just tired of this stupidity.
Yeah. You have any thoughts you want to throw in on this, Jenny?
Nope, I think we should put in our pipe and smoke it till tomorrow, Jason.
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution, tested out there, now available, as well as Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. Thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing, and thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. Thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Anthony out there in the metaverse, and thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.